Getting games cheap is one of my favorite things. Being able to walk home with God of War and enough money to buy a donut is great. I can't tell you how many games I bought and loved just because it had a cheaper price tag than when it released. Which is why in today's video, I want to go over some of my favorite PlayStation hits games for the PS4 and why these games are worth the small price of $20. Welcome, Web of Wires. You can see me behind me, I don't have many games on the PS4. I play a lot of games on other systems. It's just an excuse for me to use a capture card. The PlayStation 4 is a great system with a lot of affordable and collectible games. I grew up with the Xbox One and my parents had the PS4 downstairs. But as I'm playing and discovering more games, it's obvious I love the exclusives on this system a lot more. Which is why in today's video, I want to share with you some of my favorite games on the system that made it to the PlayStation hits. First on the list is Terraria. I've been playing this game since the mid-Xbox 360 days. It's an older game, yes, it's about to turn 10 years old, but it still holds up and recently got its final update. Terraria is all about discovery. It's about learning new mechanics and finding new items. There are loads of weapons, tools, blocks, armor, enemies, bosses, biomes. It's impressive. Terraria is best played with a friend or two, especially for your first time playing. If you enjoy sandbox type games, boss games, or any games that take a long time to beat, Terraria is definitely a fun and lengthy option you should look out for. And if you aren't sure about buying it, there's a demo you can try out. I haven't played the demo yet, but hey, you can try it out. Next up is Ratchet and Clank, a game based on a movie that was based on a game. It's a bit confusing, but they poke fun at it being a movie game, which can be funny. I really enjoyed my time with Ratchet and Clank so far. I'm not too knowledgeable on this game, so don't yell at me, please. But from my understanding, it's a cartoonish 3D platformer with great visuals and satisfying combat. Ratchet gets a ton of weapons to use and a skill tree to improve those weapons. Not to mention the variety of stuff to do. You're always doing something different instead of the same thing over and over, which really helps with pacing. There's definitely not as much platforming in the game as Mario Odyssey or something like that, but I won't lie and say there is none. Honestly, my favorite part so far is that it plays out like a Disney movie. Everything is so animated and creative. It feels like a cross between Monsters Inc. and Toy Story. Overall, it's a really fun game I can recommend you give a spin if you're into those games. Something I'm more familiar with is Yakuza 0. I've played quite a bit of this game. Haven't beaten it, haven't played other entries, but man, this is a really unique game. Take GTA 5. Now instead of making the map super big and sometimes a bit empty, make it smaller and keep the same amount of activities. Now put the world in Japan. That's the game. Every single place has something to do. You can go bowling, do karaoke, go fishing, play darts. You can even go to a Sega arcade and play old arcade games. Outside of the main story, there's so much to do and it makes the game so much better when you're a bit tired of the story. But the story itself, man, it's good. Nothing too memorable, but it definitely isn't forgettable with how much fun it is. You're always having fun, and with how versatile the fast-paced combat is in this game, it's definitely a must-buy for any 3D brawler fan. Literally, the only reason this game is on the list is because I know someone is going to say, "You forgot this game," and from what I understand, it definitely deserves a spot on this list. Persona 5, a JRPG that fixes a lot of my errors with the genre. Just like Ratchet, I haven't played a whole lot of this game. I played 2 hours just for footage. But from my understanding, Persona 5 is a very stylish game and fixes a lot of reasons I don't like most games with turn-based combat. They feel repetitive, samey, and overall just don't scream personality. Persona 5, on the other hand, the animation and character design is jaw-dropping, and the turn-based combat is immediately more fun because every action is instant. It doesn't play some dumb animation that takes 30 seconds only to miss, and the story, from my understanding, is pretty decent. Not my cup of tea, but very well written. Usually it's hard for me to keep up with the story without voice acting, so instead, this game mixes up the storytelling with dialogue in some bits and reading in other bits. The entire story is based around a kid in high school, which, hello, I go to school. It's a little easier to connect with characters because of this, which is something I thought I would add. Overall, if you're into JRPGs, please pick this game up. This is probably the best one I've played so far, which isn't saying much, but hopefully it's something to you. Naughty Dog is one of my favorite developers at this point. They made Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter. They also made Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection, a $20 game with 3 great Uncharted games. I beat the first game, and I'm working on a second one. The third is silently sitting there waiting to be played. Honestly, I will say these games aged poorly in some areas, but once you're on to the second and then the third game, it becomes much easier to control. The guns can be a bit repetitive at times, puzzles can be slightly boring, and the camera can easily make you sick, but overall these games are not worth missing. And if you really enjoyed them, Uncharted 4 is a PlayStation hit as well. I heard that game is easily the best in the franchise, and the story is much more complex and interesting. So if you want another cheap and lengthy game, Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection is a great adventure type shooter for you and your wallet. Literally anybody who has talked to me in the past 2 months knows how obsessed I am over this franchise. I'm talking about The Last of Us. I'll try to keep it short because I could ramble on for hours. The Last of Us is a game set in a world where everybody is stuck in a pandemic. Once a vaccine came out, it caused a fungal infection in the body that would mutate and take over. This then led to a zombie outbreak and the entire world basically collapsed. You play as Joel, a lonely and sad husk of a man who has no reason to live. In one of his missions, you need to deliver this girl to some people in the city. The entire game is based off of this mission. It sounds like a generic zombie game, but trust me, it isn't. The gameplay is just so much fun and super strategic. I never got bored of being scared or just playing the game. But you aren't here for the great gameplay, you're here for the story. The fun of it isn't the objective, it's the journey and learning more about these characters, breaking down the story and seeing how they changed. You become so attached to Ellie and Joel that they don't feel like a vessel for you to play the game as, they feel like actual people. This is pulled off by the amazing writing, impressive animation, and outstanding voice acting. I want to do a full breakdown of the game once summer hits and I have time to do that, but seriously, I can recommend this game to basically everybody watching. And if you are wondering if I enjoyed the second game or hated it, I thought it was a masterpiece, contrary to what others say. I'm currently working on a second playthrough, which is rare for me to do, and just to add even more to it, it was the second game to make me cry. I'm not the biggest fighting person out there, but honestly I love my time with Mortal Kombat X. Especially with friends, it's such a fun and brutal fighting game. All these iconic characters all in one place, ready to brawl. So let's be honest though, I don't think I need to market this game to you. It's Mortal Kombat, you all know what it is. If you enjoyed any of their other games or want to try one, this is probably your cheapest and best bet. Oh god, I've not played enough of this game to say much, but Bloodborne is a fun game. I've played quite a bit of Dark Souls already. I'm still working on it, but man, it's fun and difficult. But when I realized my dad got PlayStation Now and I could finally try Bloodborne, I took the opportunity. Yeah, I really wish I had it now. That game is so much better than Dark Souls Remastered in my opinion, even though they're basically the same game at heart. It's difficult, but it never feels unfair. You always have some way to kill the enemy, even if you die in one hit and they die in 500. I didn't get very far in this game, but it's definitely a better Dark Souls set in a Purge-like setting. Also, you get a gun. If you want something that truly tests your video game skills, Bloodborne is a great choice. And for the final game on this list, Doom 2016. I love this game. It's a shooter that is not only satisfying to play, but stands out from the other shooters. You go around killing demons, that's about it. But the reason it's so much fun is because they make the player move more and they make the player think more. You're constantly on your feet trying to dodge bullets and projectiles. The glory kills are always satisfying to watch. And the variety of guns and explosives are just so much fun to play around with. You don't get Doom for the multiplayer, you get it for the single player. I think this might be my favorite fast-paced shooter. Best of all, it works so well with a controller from what I've heard. I played the entire game on keyboard and mouse because I play most shooters on PC, but from what I've heard online and from friends, it's optimized really well to work on a controller, not only decently, but perfect for the fast-paced combat. Well, that's my top picks for so far. I can assure you there should be games on this list like God of War or Resident Evil 7, but I want to make a list of stuff I played and I can personally recommend. I absolutely did try new games just for this list, but hey, it feels a little more personal, and I know with the fact that you can get a great couple games to play. With that being said, maybe drop a like or subscribe. Hey, comment down below a game I should play or review. Maybe a PlayStation Hits game that wasn't on here. I'd love to see what you say.